Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again. And as you may have noticed, I am rolling solo tonight. Mr. 2K's was on call all weekend and pretty much was out and about making sure everyone has their internet all weekend. So rest up, 2Ks. We'll have you back next week. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's one of my favorite episodes of the year. However, well, might as well jump into it here right away. A tweet from Trey Wingo. That's kind of a tongue twister. Here's the thing to remember about draft grades immediately after the draft is over. They're pointless except for creating content for a rabid NFL base. It takes a minimum of 3 years to grade a draft when you see how the players actually play. Until then, it's just fodder. So 2K crew, we are in the business of foddering. We are in the business of making that fodder, making that content, and just having some fun with it. And we do have I actually have quite a nice crew assembled here this evening. So if you are on Facebook, I do want to welcome you. Say hello. You will get the best experience over on YouTube. So youtube.com/turbo2ks. Head on over there, like, subscribe, ring the bell to get notified when we go live. And for those of you on the audio side, big kudos to you guys and gals for downloading us every week. And just it's really kind of cool to see how many people actually enjoy listening to what 2Ks and I have to say. And lastly, big shout out to Kay and the crew over here at the Marcellus News. Go to marcellusnews.com. Sign up to get your virtual or print subscription and keep up on this little town called Marcellus. With 2K crew, yes, the draft has come and gone. I thought personally Kansas City did a fantastic job hosting the draft. Obviously, I wasn't there. I wasn't boots on the ground, but just kind of I thought that train station was absolutely beautiful. What do you guys think? That was absolutely beautiful. And it just seemed like the overall party atmosphere, which is what the draft has come to be known, was just absolutely astounding. Absolutely astounding. And how cool would it be to actually be there? Which next year the draft is in Detroit, so maybe we might get some boots on the ground for that one. You never know. But lock it in, 2K crew. We are going to talk draft. We're gonna run over how the Lions did. We're gonna run over how the Bears did, and kind of some random spot teams that I thought did extremely well. We'll even break down the Cowboys for 2Ks. And Mr. Rich Thornburg. So yeah, well, let's jump into it. I do have a couple comments I do want to share here. And for those of you on Facebook, click the link in the description, or in the comments, I should say, so that I can when I share your comments, it shows up like this. I can see your lovely face and your name, so it just doesn't say Facebook user. But this is my buddy Jeff Hosinks, sorry. He says, not staying around long, but this is our year. And if you know anything about Jeff, he is a diehard Lions fan and actually wears one of the most ridiculous hats to every Lions game. So I'm sure you've seen him on TV, which is probably why he wears it. But yes, a very, very avid Lions fan. And I actually like what the Lions did. I like what they did a lot. But on the other hand, Mr. Jeff Burton says Lions had the worst draft. So I might be the only one that's thinking that the Lions did actually do pretty good on their draft. So we did have one other comment here I did want to get into. This is from Justin Ross. It says, what up, Turbo? I didn't catch any of the draft this year, so any and all commentary will be useful. Also, I don't know if you've discussed anything pertaining to NFL players and gambling on your stream. I'd love to hear your opinion on that as well. Well, Justin, we'll get that right out. I mean, it does kind of hit home because a lot of these suspensions were Lions players. And in particular, I have a feeling they were, that whole wide receiver room got hit pretty hard. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you listen to Pat McAfee's show at all, he goes into quite a lot of quite in depth with this, and is talking about how they have meetings. I mean, first part of every year they have meetings talking about how, as an NFL player, you are not allowed to gamble. You are not allowed to, even on the road, go into a casino to accept any. And if you do go into a casino, like in the off season and stuff like that, or on like a family trip, you can't even take any can't take any comp. So if they try to upgrade your room or anything like that, you're not allowed to take that because it could be influencing your play on the field. And all in all, I mean, do I think any of the bets that these players made are influencing the outcome of the Lions season? No. But it's one of those things, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. And to be honest with you, I mean, if you are going to do it, I mean, I would do it a little bit more secretive and a little bit more, I don't know, maybe have a buddy of yours do it and you just text him your picks. I mean, there's ways around it. You just got to be smart about it. But all in all, I mean, it is for the integrity of the game. So I completely understand it. And I think to the severity of the suspensions, I mean, look at Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley was out for a whole year. And the reason why Jameson Williams and I believe the one other receiver only got 6 games is because they weren't betting on football where the other ones were. So I think they're just they're just trying to set a precedent. Like, don't fuck with this. Don't do it. Don't do it. With as much money as coming into the league right now, even including the sports books. Look at how many times you see a DraftKings or FanDuel or Caesars or any other sports book being advertised in the games you watch and in the just on regular TV. I mean, it's everywhere. We're all inundated with it. I mean, hell, I'd say probably 90% of the people I know are on one of these making bets. So it is something that we're getting used to because we obviously are in Michigan, which it is legal here. And I do have a feeling that here in the next handful of years, you're going to see the vast majority of states go in to do this. And so it's one of those things where I believe the severity is trying to come down hard now to help deter people moving forward when it does become more. I have a very good feeling it won't be in all 50 states, but very close. And the money that the NFL, Major League Baseball, all these sports are getting from these sports books is just going to increase because of the fact that they're getting more and more states on board and there's more of a cash flow. So that's kind of my thoughts. Jeez, oh Pete's. Hold on. Sorry if I just blew anyone's eardrums, but that was kind of a sneak attack, 2K crew. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. I mean, does it suck? Yeah, but I have a feeling it's just one of those things that you're just going to have to suck it up and take care of it and, I don't know, do it in the off season or, like I said, do it a little bit smarter. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. It doesn't take a genius. So we'll leave it at that. Justin says, yeah, those ads are nonstop. Yeah, for sure. And Jeff comes back he says, 2 firsts and come away with a running back and a linebacker. Gave away Swift for a bag of footballs and 2 cases of Stickum. And we might as well get into the Lions here now that is kind of the topic of conversation here. And I am on, speaking of DraftKings Nation here. And the reason I picked them is it was actually hard to find. I mean, normally you get, when you go through and you're trying to dissect a draft and try to look up, who's grading what, you'll have vastly different takes on everything. This year, that was not the case. I mean, I spent probably over an hour looking at different websites here, and they were all relatively the same, with the exception of a couple. But to be honest with you, the reason I picked DraftKings Nation is because I like their layout and it's easier to read while I'm here on here live, but most everyone gave the Lions an A or an A minus, except for Jeff. Just to kind of give you a recap, and they had the number 12 pick. They traded back, and they got Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back from Alabama. And in their second pick in the first round, Jack Campbell from Iowa, the linebacker. Round 2, they took Sam Laporta, the tight end from Iowa. Pick 45, Brian Branch, safety from Alabama. Number 68 in the third round, they took Hendon Hooker, the quarterback from Tennessee, which in the third round, I think there was some very good value in that. Not that I'm saying that he's going to take over this season or any season close here for Jared Goff. I mean, we saw Jared in that whole offense kind of. That's probably some of the best football I've seen Jared Goff play. And last year, it wasn't the offense that lost the games. It was obviously the defense. And it was to start off the season, a historically bad defense. Now, we saw some coaching changes and a lot of other stuff go into this, and we saw that defense kind of shore up a little bit. So, I'm not saying Hendon Hooker is going to step in day one, especially a third round pick, but a first round talent. Had he not gotten hurt, he was probably the number one quarterback off the draft board this year. I mean, just obviously the knee injury and his age were big knocks on him, but man, the upside is legit. And then round up third round, they got Broderick Martin, defensive tackle. Man, oh man, I got something tickling my throat tonight, yo. And then round 5, they took Colby Sorsdal, a tackle from William & Mary. And then round 7, they took Antonio Green, wide receiver from North Carolina. So I will admit that the Jahmyr Gibbs pick was kind of head scratching. But you got to remember they didn't re-sign Williams. I mean, he led the league in touchdowns last year, so that's kind of a hard thing to replace internally. Yes, they did get dude from the Bears, David Montgomery, which I totally forgot until they were talking about where they're going to trade Swift. And Swift going to the Eagles is kind of scary, but on the other hand, he hasn't played a full year of football. And I think his injury concern and just the fact that running backs are getting interchangeable, and if you use that argument and say that the number 12 pick is a bad spot to take a running back, I would listen. I would for sure listen. But I think with this guy here, and on top of that, you don't have to pay DeAndre Swift because this was his last year on his rookie contract. So you're getting out of that. You're basically restarting. And the linebacker, Jeff Campbell, I think is an immense pick and very, 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 very needed. And then, I mean, yes, this kind of was all over the place, Jeff, and I'm not saying it could have been better, but it is, especially if you're considering the past Lions drafts, I think this one was a good one. Like I said, it's not their best draft ever, but I think they addressed a lot of needs that they had and addressed them well. I really don't think they reached for anyone. I don't think that I was honestly very impressed with the draft. And just a little commentary here on DraftKings Nation. So if you guys wanted to, here I will drop this in the comments here. So you guys, if you do want to follow along, suppose if I was a good host, I would have done that before. But there's the link, 2K Crew, if you guys do want to. If you do want to hop on and kind of follow along. And let's see here. Justin says, great take. I think it's the tip of the iceberg with sports betting. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And then he follows that up with, I really don't see Swift being a three-down back. True. Is the dude we drafted built for that role? A little bit more. He's more of a He's not as much of a slasher as Swift is. He's more of a between the backs, but with speed. And he says obviously Montgomery would be the bell cow for the early start. Could the draft pick fill that role? I honestly think so. And like I said, I was relatively impressed with what they did. And to give you, if you're not following along, at the time it happened, Detroit's selecting of Gibbs at 12 was a head-scratching move. Since then, they've traded away DeAndre Swift, so Gibbs and Montgomery will hold down the backfield this year. For as bad as the first round looked for the Lions, they made much better draft picks in the middle rounds. Getting Laporta, Branch, and Hooker could help out the team this year and in the future. Overall, it turned into a good draft for Detroit. I agree. Was it a blockbuster draft? Is it something that's going to go down in the annals of Detroit draft history? No, I really don't. The only way that'll happen is if Hendon Hooker does actually become a guy and is a starting quarterback for the next, aside from this year, for 10 years, then yeah, getting him in the third round would be huge. Pick number 68. Let's jump up to I'm going up the thing here alphabetically. Let's talk about Rich and 2K's Cowboys. It started out that it looked like Jim Harbaugh had a lot to do with this. The first two picks did come from the University of Michigan. With the number 26 overall pick, they took Mazi Smith, the defensive tackle from Michigan. And in round 2, they took Luke Schoonmaker, tight end from Michigan. Round 3, DeMavion Overshown, linebacker from Texas. Round 4, Viliami Fehoko, defensive end from San Jose State. Round 5, Asim Richards, tackle from North Carolina. And they did, there was a long line of trades here to get to their 6th round pick, Eric Scott Jr., cornerback from Southern Miss. Round 6, Deuce Vaughn, running back from Kansas State, which I do believe that is his dad is part of the organization, and that's that was kind of cool to see that. Round 7, Jalen Brooks, wide receiver from South Carolina. And again, this was not a very sexy draft for the Cowboys. It didn't seem like it had the normal flair or panache that we're used to seeing from Jerry Jones. We're not used to seeing there wasn't one flashy weapon here that was taken. There wasn't anyone that can run, like a 4-2 and jump out of the building. It seems like these were all picks that made a whole lot of sense and filled in a whole lot of gaps. And my question to Cowboys Nation is: are you happy without even a late round quarterback selection? I mean, this is Dak Prescott or bust here, baby. And yes, they did get him a tight end, which I honestly thought they were going to take Michael Mayer, my boy from Notre Dame, at that number 26 pick. And just looking at it, I mean, if you're watching the ESPN broadcast, I mean, him and Jason Witten look a whole lot alike. Their games translate. Both of them look extremely, extremely similar. And for Cowboys fans, you guys kind of, how that Jason Witten guy played for you. So I was actually shocked that they did go D-tackle, considering just how stout that defense was last year. I'll be the first to admit I haven't tracked to see, like, free agency-wise where they lost and where they gained. But yeah, and to give you the commentary here, it says, not a sexy draft for Jerry Jones and company, but the picks they made near the top could pay immediate dividends. Smith and Overshown should provide solid depth in an already strong front seven for the Cowboys. And I think the whole town of Marcellus is on fire. Yep, there it goes. Something's on fire. So if it's you, go check your shit. Make sure you're not the one on fire. There it is. As for tight end, it was thought that they would use their first rounder on Notre Dame's Michael Mayer instead of turning to another Michigan man in Schoonmaker and giving Dak Prescott rapport with his tight ends. He should see some targets as well as a rookie. A solid B for Dallas. Solid B, and that's kind of where I fall to it as well. I mean, nothing sexy. Definitely was not. And again, that's ambulance. T's and P's for whoever is involved with that. Hopefully everyone's okay. If you guys know me as a person, you know I'm an insurance agent, so anything that any of your possessions can be replaced, people can. So T's and P's. Hope everyone's safe. Chicago Bears got an overall B, and this one was kind of all over the board. We saw some B's, some C's, some A's, some A minuses, but this one, I'm pretty sure out of all the ones I looked at, a B. The B was kind of the most used grade here. But the first round, number 10 overall, because they did trade that number 1 overall pick. They took Darnell Wright, offensive tackle, much needed. Pick 53, Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle from Florida, much needed. Pick 56 in the second round, Tyreek Stevenson, cornerback from Miami, much needed. Pick 64 is Zach Pickens, defensive tackle from South Carolina, much needed. Pick 115, Roschon Johnson, running back from Texas. As we mentioned, David Montgomery has moved on, so we do need some depth there. Pick 133, Tyler Scott, wide receiver from Cincinnati, needed. Pick 158 in the fifth round, Noah Sewell, inside linebacker, Oregon, needed. Pick 165. Pick 165, Terrell Smith, cornerback from Minnesota, needed. 2 seventh-round picks, Travis Bell, defensive line from Kennesaw State, and Kendall Williamson, safety from Stanford. Now, the only glaring thing that really is missing from this draft is I'll be the first one to admit I've never seen. If I have seen Tyler Scott play, I don't remember. I haven't watched a whole lot of Cincinnati games, but the weapons for Justin Fields that's needed. However, there's a reason why this team is picking number 1 overall, because there were a ton of holes, and I was very happy with how this shook out. And let's see what their commentary is here. This was a very meat and potatoes draft for the Bears, as they decided to use their top 2 picks to address both sides of the lines. Wright and Dexter have a chance to contribute for the rebuilding franchise right away, as well as their Stevenson at cornerback. They probably could have added a receiving weapon much earlier than the 4th, but I'll give them a solid B overall. Kind of exactly on the same lines as what I was talking about. But let's go to Houston. Actually, before we do that, let's jump into some of these tweets here. So I kind of given you breakdown here for a little bit. We've already talked about. Let's do this one here. This is a tweet from Warren Sharp at Sharp Football. Best value 2023 NFL draft classes. Now this is value. This is I had to do some digging on this as well, because I don't agree with a lot of this. But once I got kind of the gist of what he was talking about, I mean, it was. I agree. But this is strictly value. It wasn't any need-based. It wasn't anything super cool like that. But as you can see, Giants 1, Steelers 2, Eagles 3, Bengals 4, Browns 5, Titans 6, Broncos 7, Dolphins 8, Colts 9, Jags 10. And yeah, it's hard to argue that. But like I said, it was kind of a deceptive tweet, kind of a, hey, look at me, and then you got to dig in deeper without actually ripping this guy a new butthole. Because if you just look at this list, it's like, okay, he's saying the Giants had the best draft, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that. But if you look at it as far as value is concerned, I get where he's coming from. So if you do want to read that tweet, just hop on at Sharp Football. But I did want to feature this one here for a little bit. This is a tweet from Fox 17 here. Our Fox 17. The Seattle Seahawks drafted Muskegon native Anthony Bradford, while Ferris State alum and Dowagiac native Caleb Murphy signed with the Tennessee Titans as a free agent. So we have two dudes here right from home that are rocking it in the NFL. So big shout out to them, big kudos. I'm a fan of both just because they're from here locally. So best of luck, gentlemen, and hopefully we will see you on Sundays. But let's get back to this here. And I wanted to do Houston because what they did was it was. I don't remember seeing a team trying to do the alphabet backwards here, and it's not working very well for me. There it is. Oops. All right, come in focus. There we go. Got me? All right. And we saw the Houston Texans have the number 2 overall pick, and there was a lot of hubbub, a lot of rumors saying that they might not go quarterback. They might just shop the pick. This team was absolutely horrendous all year. Davis Mills, who they drafted, I believe, from Stanford a couple years ago, just really wasn't not to say that I'm not a fan of his. He did have some flashes of being okay, but as far as a franchise quarterback, I really don't know. And obviously the Texans didn't know either because with the number 2 pick, they took C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, which is, to me, was the smart move, was a smart play, and kind of the safest play. So was there a lot of smoke screen? Was there a lot of, as Pat McAfee says, the week before draft week is always lying season. So were they trying to throw off a whole lot of people so that no one really knew? It was kind of the general consensus that Bryce Young is going to be taking number 1 overall. But for the money, I think C.J. Stroud's going to be a better pro. I like his body of work better, even though Bryce Young did win a Heisman. But I think this was huge. And even bigger, because the Cardinals were sitting at that number 3 spot, and it was pretty much, I think the world knew that they weren't going to take a quarterback. So why would they be there at number 3? Why would they? And if they did stay pat at number 3, who would they take? Would they take defense, or would you trade out and let some of these teams that really needed a quarterback trade back, get more picks, and then because that team has a whole lot of holes. So Texans jumped up. They had pick number 2 and pick number 3, in which the third pick they took Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama. A lot of people had him as the number 1 player on their draft board. So to get him at 3 and the quarterback of your future was absolutely huge, and a game changer for this organization. So, am I saying that this is going to be? Are the Texans going to be world beaters and challenging for the AFC South title? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying this was unprecedented, and they filled 2 gaping holes that they needed, and with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, and they had their number 2 or their second round pick was Juice Scruggs, center from Penn State. Round 3, Tank Dell, wide receiver from Houston. In round 4, Dylan Horton, defensive end, TCU. Their 5th round pick, Henry Tuo'o, another linebacker from Alabama. 6th round, Jarrett Patterson, center for Notre Dame, go Irish. And lastly, in the 6th round, Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver from Iowa State. So, I mean, they pretty much knocked it out of the park with this one. I don't think I've ever seen a team get this big of a haul in one draft before, and it just blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. And it says here, wheeling and dealing early in the first round, the Texans were aggressive and were able to net 2 of the top prospects off the board. They have their franchise quarterback in Stroud, and Anderson was thought by many to be top defensive player in this class. They made other shrewd moves later in the draft, including taking a pair of under-the-radar receiving prospects in Dell and Hutchinson, as well as a potential fifth-round steal in not even going to try to pronounce his name again, the linebacker from Alabama. Encouraging start to the DeMeco Ryans era here in H-Town. They get an A+ here. And I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Since the Colts are right here, let's take a look at the Colts. I mean, they were sitting at pick 4, and this was one of the teams that was kind of rumored to possibly trade up to number 2, possibly trade up to number 3. But with the Texans trading back in to get the second pick, there were 4 quarterbacks here that everyone had kind of slated as first-round picks. We only saw 3 of them go, but sitting at 4, I mean, their guy fell into their lap. And at number 4, they took Anthony Richardson from Florida, quarterback. And with their new head coach, what he did in Philly with Jalen Hurts is kind of what they're hoping to get out of this kid. And when it comes to measurables, this kid's off the chart. One of the fastest quarterbacks, highest high jump or vertical jump, I guess you could say. Everything that was put in front of him, and I'm just catching up on some of the comments here. Yeah, hold on. I'll actually share the link to the stream. There you go. There we are. So for those of you who do want to join us on YouTube, there's the link. While you're there, like I said, hit the like, subscribe, and the bell to get notified whenever we go live. And Justin says, cough, cough, Eric Ebron. Yep. Yep. But getting back to this, with Anthony Richardson, it's just the fact that he hasn't played a whole lot of games. That Florida team was absolutely terrible. And all in all, I mean, it's a huge gamble because he isn't proven. But I think what a lot of people saw was that his upside is tremendous. And with the right coaching, I think that, this guy could be a guy, and could be a guy very, very quickly. Colts do have Gardner Minshew, so it's not like, which I like Gardner Minshew a lot. I like him a lot. It's just the fact that how is the rest of this team going to play? How is the rest of this Indianapolis Colts team going to play? They have a top tier running back. They should have one of the best offensive lines in football. They should have a very dominant defense. So that's the part I'm confused about. What the hell happened last year? What the hell happened the year before? Yes, last year was kind of that weird year where they brought in a coach who'd never coached before. Yes, he's an icon in that building, in that state, for that team. But as far as proven coaches, I don't know. And by that is no means a knock on Jeff Saturday. It's just the fact that, I really don't get it. I really don't get it. But they addressed a lot of the defensive needs, some offensive needs. They're trying to refresh that offensive line. So all in all, I mean, they got an A-. And commentary here says, did the Colts just solve the quarterback conundrum that has plagued them since the retirement of Andrew Luck? Picking Florida's Anthony Richardson, whose upside is through the roof after a spectacular combine, made too much sense and gives the new head coach, Shane Steichen, his vertical passing weapon with a big arm. Colts also had a massive need in the secondary and added nice depth with Brents, Rush, and Jones, with the later grading much higher than his 7th-round draft selection. So, yeah, I was very impressed with them. And trying to find... There, let's Let's go the alphabet the right way. Because the one I really want to look at is Philadelphia Eagles. Now, granted, Philly didn't have the draft numbers as far as the amount of picks, but dang, did they make very, very good use of their picks. I mean, good Lord. Good Lord. And it seems like they, and before we break down the picks, I'll give you the commentary. Insert an Eagles being the new Georgia Bulldogs joke here. Laugh all you want, but the strategy is a smart one. They picked up Carter, Smith, and Ringo, who could all contribute this season, but certainly could be expected to start in 2024. Steen helps to improve the offensive line, with Brown helping to shore up the secondary. They also acquired DeAndre Swift, so surprise, surprise, the Eagles are going to be good again. Yeah, no shit. No shit. Jalen Carter, in probably the other half of folks that thought that Will Anderson Jr. was the best player in the draft, the other half thought that Jalen Carter was. And for a team that went to the Super Bowl, getting the ninth pick, let that sink in. For a team that played in the Super Bowl and led that Super Bowl for a lot of time, one of the more electric Super Bowls in a while, to have pick 9, I think they were pick 10, and then they traded with the Bears to get Jalen Carter. Granted, we're not going to get into the off-the-field stuff here because that's not really what we do here on this show. But as far as that, getting that player to that defense is insane, is absolutely insane. And then 21 picks later, still in the first round, they get Nolan Smith, the edge rusher from Georgia. These were the same guys that were on that Georgia team, obviously not only this year, but last year, that was historically good. Historically good. So it seems like, yes, it is Georgia is a pipeline for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, I mean, hell, why not? Why not? Why not? And then they got Tyler Steen in the third round, tackle from Alabama. Pick 66, Sidney Brown, safety from Illinois. Round 4, Kaylee Ringo, cornerback from Georgia. And pick number 188 in the 6th round, Tyler McKee, quarterback, Stanford. Round 7, number 249, Moro Ojomo, defensive end for Texas. So, again, there really wasn't anything sexy here. We saw defensive line, offensive line, secondary, with a quarterback mixed in, which I have a very good feeling as long as Jalen Hurts is there, especially the amount of money they just paid him. Mr. McKee will probably not be playing a whole heck of a lot. But let's see here. See, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. See who got the worst grade. It's looking like the Washington Commanders. They got a C+. C+. Their first round pick, Emmanuel Forbes, corner from Mississippi State. Jartavius Martin, cornerback from Illinois, with their second round. Ricky Stromberg, center from Arkansas, in the third round. Braden Daniels, offensive guard, Utah, in the fourth round. Fifth round, they took KJ Henry, defensive end from Clemson. Sixth round, Chris Rodriguez, running back from Kentucky. And in their seventh round, Andre Jones Jr., edge rusher from Louisiana. The Commanders still have a huge question mark at the quarterback position, despite the confidence the team may exude about second-year signal caller Sam Howell. Forbes' ball skills are good, but his play style fits as a nickel corner at 166 pounds. There are serious question marks around his ability to last long-term. Stromberg, another offensive lineman who's put positional limitations, makes him a curious pick for Washington. Yeah, but I mean they're the Commanders, so you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, I guess. So let's see here. Let's see the one I'm trying to find. Eagles, Jets. Here we go. Jets got a B minus. Jets got a B minus. And the reason we're talking about the Jets is because of the major news with Aaron Rodgers and kind of the shakeup with them in the Packers as far as swapping first-round picks and the Packers getting a second-round pick from the Jets. So let's see what they did. Pick 15, who they got from the Packers, Will McDonald, edge rusher, Iowa State. Round 2, Joe Tippin, center from Wisconsin. Round 4, Carter Warren, offensive tackle from Pittsburgh. Round 5, Israel, not even going to try to pronounce his last name, running back from Pittsburgh. Round 6, Zaire Barnes, offensive line, Western Michigan, go Broncos. Pick number 204, again in the 6th round, Jarek Bernard Converse. Bernard Converse, that's hyphenated, moron. Cornerback LSU. And round 7, Zach Kuntz, tight end from Old Dominion. Despite picking up Aaron Rodgers in a pre-draft trade, the Jets seemed content continuing the trend, of not giving him any weapons early rounds of the NFL draft. McDonald should be a solid player, but was a reach at 15. Tippmann and Warren are solid offensive line pieces. The addition of Abanikada, my bad, dude, my bad. Feels like it should have been a wide receiver with Breece Hall and Michael Carter already on the roster. The sleeper in this class for New York will be Kuntz. But if you think about it, did the Jets need any more wide receivers? Did they need any more weapons? I mean, granted, this is the NFL. You can never have too many weapons. But then again, every team has needs, and the Jets address the glaring need in a quarterback. Check. They have running backs. Breece Hall's a stud. If he doesn't get hurt, he's the offensive rookie of the year. Oh, they have Garrett Wilson, the actual offensive rookie of the year. They signed Allen Lazard. So, I mean, there's plenty of weapons there. Now let's keep his ass upright, which is why you see the center and the offensive tackle did show up the running back position with Israel, dude, I can't pronounce his last name, from Pittsburgh. So, all in all, they gave him a B-. I thought it was a little bit better than that. I would have gone higher than a B-. And sticking with that, let's go to Green Bay. There we go. Green Bay, they gave, and this was kind of the resounding letter grade from all of the research I did, B-. And I tend to agree with this one. They had the number 13 pick that they swapped with the Jets. Lucas Van Ness, defensive end from Iowa. They had 2 second-round picks. The first one was Luke Musgrave, tight end from Oregon State. Second one was Jaden Reed, wide receiver from Michigan State. I didn't even know Michigan State had any receivers that were worth a damn, even go. And I'm pretty sure their punter was the best person on their team. So to see a wide receiver go in the second round was kind of weird. But nonetheless. Third round pick, Tucker Kraft, tight end from San Diego State. They had a ton of picks, y'all. Ton of picks. Fourth round pick, Colby Wooden, defensive tackle from Auburn. They had two fifth round picks, Sean Clifford, quarterback, Penn State. It's kind of weird. The second one was Dontavian Wicks, wide receiver from Virginia. They had 2 6th-round picks, Carl Brooks, defensive end, Bowling Green. Anders Carlson, place kicker from Auburn, which I think is the first time they've drafted a kicker since Mason Crosby. So we all know Mason can't kick forever. And then they had 4 7th-round picks. Carrington Valentine, corner from Kentucky. Lou Nichols III, running back from Central Michigan. Go Chips, or Fire Up Chips, sorry. Anthony Johnson Jr., defensive back from Iowa State. And Grant DeBose, wide receiver from Charlotte. This commentary should be good. Just because Aaron Rodgers is no longer the quarterback doesn't mean that Green Bay should use a first-round pick on a pass catcher. Van Ness was a reach in the first, but the Packers recovered with Musgrave and Reed in the second. Things got things then got confusing as they went on to select another tight end, 2 more receivers, and Clifford. There are some solid pieces here, but just because they selected 13 players in the draft doesn't mean they're all hits. Yeah. Sometimes it's quality over quantity. But yes, the Packers were very busy. I think it seems like they had the most picks out of anybody. Oh, I lied. 2K Crew. There is a team that drafted worse than the Commanders. The Cleveland Browns. How could I forget the Cleveland Browns? It's probably because they're horrible. Cleveland Browns had no first and no second round picks, which is probably why I totally forgot about them. Their first pick was in the 3rd round at pick 74. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, Tennessee. Round 4. Looks like all the ambulances and fire trucks are back, so doesn't look like anything too bad happened. So like I said, T's and P's. Sayaki Ika, defensive tackle from Baylor. And 2 4th-round picks, DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle, Ohio State. And Isaiah McGuire, edge rusher from Missouri. And they took a quarterback with one of their 2 5th-round picks, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, quarterback, UCLA. Cameron Mitchell, cornerback, Northwestern. And in the 6th round, they took Luke Wimpler, center from Ohio State. Cleveland's price for acquiring Deshaun Watson and Elijah Moore was not making a single selection until the 3rd round. Tillman and Ika are the only players that could carve out a decent number of snaps for themselves as rookies, while the rest will be fighting to simply stick as a member of the 53-man roster. Again, this was by design on the Browns' part as they went all in on Watson, but they better hope it's worth turning into an underwhelming draft class. Yes, very underwhelming. Very, very underwhelming. Very underwhelming indeed. But they are the Browns. They are the Browns. So honestly, what do you expect when you have to trade away that many players to get a quarterback and then give him $250 million guaranteed, and really have nothing to show for it so far? I mean, it's kind of what's that old you made your bed, now sleep in it type deal. So yeah, that's oof. All right, well, 2K Crew, I think that's, unless there's any other teams that you guys want me to break down, like I said, all in all, just kind of my overall thoughts for the draft. I mean, I think 2Ks and I touched on it last week, is that this is one of the most unpredictable drafts that we've seen in recent memory. And I think moving forward, even if there is that consensus number 1, are they really going to announce it early? Probably not. Probably not, just for the fact that this is it's the second biggest day in the NFL. There's Super Bowl, the draft, and then opening day. That's how they rank. So if the number 1 overall pick is announced early, and now that they don't have to negotiate with these guys, I mean, they still have to sign their contract, yes, but everything's kind of carved in stone. So it's not like you have to get out and it's more advantageous for a team that is picking number 1 to lock that guy up and kind of set the bar for the whole draft like they used to be. Might as well save that drama, save everything for draft night so that ESPN and NFL Network and ABC get more viewers and kind of help the production of that. And I think that this year there was a ton of trades, which we kind of all expected, a ton of trades, and I think for the amount of trades, it really the talent really didn't, in my opinion, the talent in this draft didn't necessitate all of these trades. I think it was trades not to get talent, but trades to get necessary pieces, I think, is my biggest takeaway. Where there's some good guys, yes. Where there's some, I mean, hell, there was a lot of people's dreams being made, yes. There's a lot of money spent, yes. But all in all, I really don't know how much better each team got with this with this draft class as compared to some of the draft classes in the past. We did see a lot more quarterbacks go early compared to last year, but we didn't. It took a while to get the first receiver off the board. Now next year, that's going to be a whole different story with Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out. I mean, he's quite possibly the number 3 overall prospect behind Caleb Williams and Drake May, who are going to, highlight this whole process going forward until draft day next year. And a lot of these teams, and I remember the whole suck for luck thing in Indianapolis. I mean, it's probably kind of hard to tank in the NFL when you have that many players getting paid that much money. But with these two kids, and Caleb Williams and May, I mean, you're talking about organizational, changing the history of an organization overnight. We saw the Bengals when they took Joe Burrow. I mean, there was a reason why they were picked number 1. 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl. 3 years later, they're knocking on the door for another one. So, and they have their guy going forward. I mean, that changed the organization forever. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams play out and who gets these two guys. And I think there's going to be excuse me, coughing and sneezing all over the place tonight, y'all. I do apologize, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm excited to see where these guys go and what types of teams are going to be surrounding, or how teams are going to surround talent around them. That's the interesting take from my point of view. Now, yes, this draft had some good quarterbacks, but compared to those two, I think these guys aren't even in the same question or in the same breath, especially when it gets to the NFL. So we shall see, 2K crew. We shall see. And like I said, with Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, that guy is probably, if he gets in the right system, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's gonna be better than Justin Jefferson. He's gonna be better than most of the wide receivers in the past 5 years draft. So it's, especially if you're an Ohio State fan, you got to be excited to see what he does on the field next year, but also kind of sad knowing that you get one more year with him and you're starting off with a new quarterback this year. So, but that's the beauty of the draft, ladies and gentlemen. You have all these aspirations, all of these plans, spend all this time researching, and look what the 49ers did last year. On to their 4th quarterback, and Mr. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's kind of in the limelight again. When is he going to play? What are the 49ers going to do for a quarterback until he gets healthy? So I think just with that pick alone, I think that you'll see a lot more people take note of who these later round picks are, as well as kind of keeping an eye on them. Well, 2K crew, we've chatted for almost an hour. I hope everyone has a great week, and hopefully here real soon, we actually get some decent weather on the weekends. I mean, it's harder than hell to get out and do anything when it's like this. No. Fingers crossed the weather gets better. We can get out on the golf course, and I promised I would give you guys softball updates, and we had our first game Wednesday. However, I did not play. My back was just acting up, and I couldn't even throw. So I became the official beer drinker / scorekeeper. We did end up losing, but it's week one. No big deal. But I will keep you guys and gals abreast of our progress throughout the season. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, everyone have a great week. We will see you next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.